Okay. Well, now there's 23 of us here this evening. Now, I don't know. I'm assuming that people have been following fairly closely some of the more general developments that have gone on with regard to the disclosure process. As you know, we're in sort of a new era with regard to the disclosure of the UFO phenomenon. Ever since 2017, the very end of 2017, in December, when Lou Elizondo, who was the director of the top secret program hidden inside the Pentagon that was actively investigating the UFO phenomenon, despite the protestations made by the Defense Department and our intelligence agencies to Congress over and over and over again, that there was absolutely nothing to the UFO phenomenon. It was all swamp gas or mistaken flocks of birds, and that anybody who actually professed a belief that UFOs were real was somehow mentally ill, uh, even having gone to the lengths of getting a number of them committed uh, to mental institutions by their families. So this has been quite a sea change that's taken place as of 2017. Uh, when Lou Elizondo, whom, as you probably know, I represent, I'm Lou's attorney. I worked with him to craft the official complaint that he filed with the United States Defense Department, uh, challenging them for lying to Congress and concealing from the American people and actively retaliating against people who were attempting to simply report these sightings and encounters to the government. That this whole sea change kind of occurred after we filed this complaint with the Defense Department and then went to meet with the Inspector General. As we started presenting more and more direct proof to the Inspector General and his staff that this was true, and that in fact they had been being lied to as well. they they started freaking out and inviting in to meet with us more and more of the Pentagon officials who had also been lied to about this and had been shut out of this. And that began this kind of drumbeat whereby Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, who was the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence under both the Clinton Democratic administration and the W. Bush Republican administration, they went on 60 Minutes, CBS 60 Minutes, recounting the evidence that proved that, in fact, UFOs were real, including the showing of video footage taken from the F-18 Super Hornet jet fighters off the U.S. aircraft carriers on both coasts, in fact, showing that these were very real and that we needed to have Congress step up and confront the Defense Department and the intelligence community to challenge them for lying to Congress and get this information revealed. So we've been engaged over that time since December of 2017 in getting Congress briefed up on this. We've brought some 40 different whistleblowers to the United States Senate Intelligence Committee and under oath have presented sworn testimony along with documentation proving that this is actually going on. Not only is there a top secret program investigating the UFO phenomenon, but that in fact, as David Grush, a major U.S. Air Force official who came before the House Oversight Committee and testified under oath on July 23rd of 2023, that we were actually in possession of one or more non-human origin extraterrestrial spacecraft and the bodies of non-human occupants of the UFOs. And that our government, an element within our government, was secretly attempting to back engineer the technology that had been recovered from one or more of these crash sites of UFOs into making weapon system. This was all brought forward, and the day after David Grush's testimony to the House Oversight Committee, the United States Senate passed a 64-page bill out of the Senate Intelligence Committee, 17-0.
Dile que muchas gracias.
Okay, we got somebody's audio
Right.
here.
It's
Beth Rodriguez. Okay, just you have to Griella.
okay.
There you go. That's it. Okay, so the bottom line is, I think that most of you, because you're here tonight, have heard about those things that have been going on. And the most recent development here has been the testimony of my client, Lou Elizondo, to the House Oversight Committee back on November 13th. And he testified under oath confirming that there is, in fact, such a secret program going on trying to back engineer UFO technology into a weapon system. So that is now that has caused the House Oversight Committee of the House of Representatives to appoint a special task force that's going to be made up of Republicans and Democratic members of the House to actively investigate themselves the UFO issue and what information is still being concealed in classified documents that has not been disclosed to Congress. And we now have as of yesterday, we have the Republican members of that task force identified. It's Ana Paulina Luna from Florida, Nancy Mace from South Carolina, Tim Burchett from Tennessee, Lauren Babert from Colorado, Eric Burleson from Missouri, Eli Crane from Arizona, and Brandon Gill from Texas. They're all on the task force so far. The Democratic Party is in the process now of assigning members to the task force. And we are meeting, we met today with the Chief of Staff for Ana Luna, who is the chair of that task force, to start working with them to deliver information to them so that they'll have a base line of information that they may not have otherwise done because they're brand new. They've just been created for the last 1 week or so. So that's the most current stuff that's happening right now. And our New Paradigm Institute, as Richard has pointed out, is in the process of organizing Citizens for Disclosure groups in all 435 congressional districts and in all 50 states to press all of our congressional members of the House of Representatives and senators into getting to the bottom of this issue about the UFOs and this non-human intelligence that they now have biological proof that are occupying these UFOs. So, I mean, I know a lot of you thought you were waiting for this particular announcement to ever get made in your lifetime about the fact that they've actually now had direct physical proof of the existence of these UFOs and their occupants that are not human. There is some discussion going on now within the government as to where these non-human intelligent beings who occupy the craft come from. And the consensus seems to be that they're from one or more other star systems here in our Milky Way galaxy. Some people a few people within that community believe that they may be, strangely enough, extra dimensional beings. But that our opinion, at least at this point in the New Paradigm Institute, is that the means by which these beings travel in their UFO vehicles from their star system here in our galaxy to our planet, it gives the impression as they materialize and come into visual contact with us, they appear to be coming out of some other dimension. But our present thinking is that this has to do with them transforming up into some super high frequency, vibrational frequency, and then projecting themselves here to our planet, and then rheostating in effect down into a lower frequency that becomes materially manifest, and that therefore it gives the appearance to be coming out of some other dimension, but it may well just be a function of the way that they travel. But what we're working on now is to try to get the witnesses to the Congress to present to them direct knowledge, firsthand knowledge, that we have actually been in direct communication with the members of this extraterrestrial species, uh, and that they have been imparting some information to us, at least to this deeply secret program inside our Pentagon, uh, and that we're attempting to get that information conveyed to Congress now. So this is an extraordinarily exciting dynamic that's going on, but it's extremely important for us in our conversation here tonight to understand that the forces that have been at play keeping this secret for probably 80 years now are still operational, and they're pushing back mightily to try to shut this process down. So it's going to be absolutely essential that each of you contact us here at newparadigminstitute.org, and for free sign up to be members of Citizens for Disclosure, so that we can be getting information to you regularly as to what new information you need to have to be sharing it with your congressional representatives and senators, so that you can keep the pressure on them. And you can also be sharing this information with your local newspapers, with your local cable television stations, with your local colleges, and even with your local high schools. We have a briefing coming up to one of the Florida high schools now, in a high school assembly, where we're going to be actually presenting information to the high school students about the reality of UFOs, and trying to see if we can get their schools to start sharing some of this information in their physics courses, and even in some of their history courses about this phenomenon. So I just wanted to get that uh, out in front of us here in the first 15 minutes or so of our gathering here together, so that everybody's got at least kind of a common baseline of information, even if some of you are brand new to this. But my assumption is that most of you are pretty well up on this subject right now, and may have a number of questions that you'd like answered, not only about the general subject matter that we're dealing with here, but also with regard to the New Paradigm Institute, and how you go about getting signed up, how you go about getting all of the information and the white papers that are being prepared by us, and how you get into much closer conversation with your congressional members and their staff about this. So I'm open to answer any questions that anyone has, and of course invite comments that you all have on what your thinking is about this subject, and where you're at in the development of your thinking, and you're moving into action as citizens to get this revealed to the rest of the world. Okay, so that's my little intro remarks here, and I'm available for the rest of our discussion. For I guess we're going to go for another hour and 45 minutes, hopefully at least. But
Hi,
There you go.
hi.
there you go.
I'm trying very hard to get used to my new iPad. Hi, everyone. Hi,
Hi, Valerie.
Richard. Hi,
Hello. Hi, good to see you.
I came to visit you at your spot, and I'm glad to be on your Zoom. Daniel, keep up the good work. We do watch you often, and I'm always excited to share what you guys all have to say with the people that are still thinking it can't possibly be. My one simple question is, is your institute affiliated in with Dr. Greer or with the beliefs of Dr. Greer? Are you somehow together, or is there a separation there?
Well, it's interesting that these are some of the structural questions. I was legal counsel for the Disclosure Project of Dr. Greer's Disclosure Project for 20 years. Uh,
Oh,
and I was legal counsel for Dr. John Mack for 10 years. And
oh,
I was legal counsel to the special investigation that was generated by President Carter throughout his entire 4 year term. So I've been in direct relationship with him, and I'm Lou Elizondo's attorney, and have been his attorney since 2021. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get all of the different individuals and all of the different organizations that are working on this to all try to come together to share whatever it is that they all believe in common. And we can then see that there may be some areas where individuals differ with each other. Some of it, a lot of it, in fact, is just certain degrees. For example, there's a kind of a public dispute that's going on now between Dr. Stephen Greer and Lou Elizondo,
mm-hmm.
where Dr. Greer, from his perspective, is aware of the fact that there have been steps taken in the past by elements of our national security state to deceive the public, that they've actually gone so far in a project called Operation Northwoods back in the 1960s to try to get Cuban refugees who had left Cuba and had come to Florida, to Miami and Tampa, to basically dress up in Cuban military uniforms and blow up supermarkets and shopping malls in
Oh,
Miami and kill
it's the
people
60s.
who are refugees from Cuba, so that people will be furious and then blame it on the Cuban government, so that the United States military can invade their island and take them over. Uh, now that because Dr. Greer is familiar with that background, he realizes that there are elements inside the national security state infrastructure who are willing to go to those lengths to try to achieve their objectives. And so what he has asserted is that since he's so aware of that history, he believes that there's probably an element inside the national security state that is planning to try to have some kind of false flag, they call that, a false flag attack by capturing the technology of one or more of these UFOs and then trying to recreate UFOs that look like and act like their craft to pretend to be like attacking Washington, like in Independence Day or something. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and on the other hand, uh, Lou Elizondo, who has been inside the military for most of his whole career, for his whole life, and is aware of the fact that there may be certain elements inside the national security state that are believe that they can get away with almost anything. That he doesn't believe that they have really gone so far as to make any plans like a thing like that. Now, what you can see there is that there is but both of them Both of them agree that UFOs are real. Both of them agree that the high probabilities are that the UFO craft are being piloted by non-human species from inside our galaxy. Both of them and all of them believe, they and their followers believe that the element inside our United States Defense Department and intelligence community has been consciously lying, and not only to the public about this, but that they've been lying to Congress about it, who are the ones that make the laws and set the policies for our country. And both of them and all of their supporters basically agree that there needs to be more disclosure of the information that our government has about all of this. And in fact, they agree on 75 or 80% of everything. That a lot of it is nuances where for example, Dr. Greer could assert that he believes that they're actually planning to do this. Uh, and on the other hand, Lou Elizondo will be asserting that no, nobody's planning to do that at all. Nobody's planning to do anything like that. And he defends most of the people in the national security state infrastructure, but he too recognizes that there's an element inside the national security state infrastructure that has engaged in unlawful conduct in the past, and they need to be exposed. And there needs to be radical steps taken to modify the policies of our United States government. So what I do is, since I've been legal counsel for both Lou Elizondo and for Dr. Greer, what I'm trying to do is to get people to focus on what differing groups all share and believe in, and try to limit to an accurate degree what the specific things are with which they disagree. And then I think persuasively argue that a lot of these disagreements have to do with the particular unique perspective from which they approach the problem, and having to do with their own backgrounds, their own experiences, and to some degree, who the particular sources are with whom they're communicating. Uh, and so that our New Paradigm Institute, we have set up the New Paradigm Institute, which is independent, basically, of all previous organizations, so that we have partnerships with some of them. For example, with the MUFON, with the Mutual UFO Network, because we find that we basically agree 100% with what they believe. We're partners with the Contact in the Desert, which is a major presentation that's made every year of the information. We're building out additional partnerships. We have attended, our staff and people have attended the activities at SAL at Stanford University with Dr. Gary Nolan. We're in regular communication with the UAP Disclosure Fund, and others. And we've been on we and our staff have been on podcasts of people who have positions that cover the entire spectrum, politically and factually. And so that's the answer to your question, Valerie. That we're an independent group that is trying to bring everybody together and get kind of an upward, positive, forward lift to the organizing of our citizens, to lean in on Congress, and to have both political parties in Congress be friends with us, and be friends with each other, at least on this particular set of issues. And we have succeeded extraordinarily in doing that, where we have, all of the Democratic leadership and all of the Republican leadership, basically in both the House and Senate, supporting our citizens' move to get this information disclosed. So that's where we are right now, Valerie. And
Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. Thank
God
you.
bless you.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
Becky.
yeah, Becky.
Well, I think it was Becky. Becky Pisk.
Hello.
Yeah.
This is not Becky Piskey. This is Paul Pacini. Becky's my wife. I'm using
Oh,
her computer. Sorry about the confusion.
yeah. I
Um,
think you both look great. So we're-
um, yeah, it was interesting. I thought that Stephen Greer's name came up because I was thinking about asking you what you think about this idea, which to me came from Stephen Greer, but I'm not sure. He
Uh-huh.
was the original author about not putting quite so much energy into getting our legislators, our Congress, and our government to,
Mhm.
but to be take the path of being ambassadors
Yeah, yeah,
and trying
yeah.
to contact them and talking to the extraterrestrials or whoever they are one on one. Be our own ambassador. What do you think of that?
I've agreed with that. In fact, when I was legal counsel for Dr. John Mack, almost 10 years before I became legal counsel for Dr. Greer and the Disclosure Project, John Mack and I were engaged in an actual program to try to train diplomats, people who were having regular contact with extraterrestrials, repeat abductees, and others who had regular encounters, helping to train them to be citizen diplomats, to try to reach out to them. We at the New Paradigm Institute have always been extremely supportive of our private citizens reaching out telepathically to come together, either in small groups or large groups, and reach out telepathically, because even now you've discovered that in fact, most recently, uh, Jake Barber, who is a major military guy that has been working to recover UFO crash vehicles, has himself asserted that clearly the people inside this national security state group that have been seizing these UFOs are doing so by telepathically reaching out and communicating with them. So that they have confirmed what Dr. Greer has been saying for decades now, that we communicate telepathically with the extraterrestrial beings, and so that we have always agreed that not that we should not put full attention in trying to get Congress to do something about this, since they're our representatives and they're the ones that are actually going to be helping to craft policies and programs that we have to adopt in order to deal with them from a governmental point of view, and deal with the economic implications and the social implications. But that we should be very much devoting a lot of energy to reaching out individually and in groups to establish direct citizen diplomacy with the beings from this extraterrestrial civilization. So what we're saying is both, and to be doing both things at the same time. And I don't think that Dr. Greer is suggesting that we don't devote some significant energy to trying to get Congress to do it. It's just that he has a lower level of confidence in the potential of getting the two political parties to agree enough to do this, of getting the Congress, the House and Senate to agree enough to do this, to have the legislative branch and the executive branch agree adequately to do this. And so he has a lower level of confidence in the functioning of government than, for example, Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon and others who have spent their careers in the government have, with regard to the progress we can make. So I think that now Lou and Chris Mellon and others have not spoken on this issue of the citizens being engaged in this citizen diplomacy process, but they are very much aware of the fact that the people inside the legacy program, hidden inside the national security state infrastructure, are in fact attempting to communicate telepathically with the occupants of these UFO vehicles. So even though they have not yet made public statements to that effect, I think that they both, all of them, acknowledge that that is a means, an effective means by which to communicate with the extraterrestrial beings. As shocking and surprising as that sounds to most people, who have been led to believe that not only UFOs aren't real, but there was no confidence that extraterrestrial life really exists, and that surely there's no such thing as telepathy. Even though there are universities such as Duke University and others, and Princeton University and others have dramatically demonstrated that there is such a thing as extrasensory perception,
Would you
both
allow,
with regard to
would you
telepathic communication and others. Yes, go ahead, Walt.
allow a follow-up question then?
Yes.
Um, so do you have any idea the methodology that they're using for this telecommunication? Stephen Greer's method is meditation. Is that
Yes.
what you're using?
Yes. It's what one would call meditation. That it is true that the ability to elevate your state of consciousness into a state where you can effectively telepathically communicate with others is in fact facilitated by meditation. Yes, that is absolutely right. Transcendental meditation, which is sort of non-sectarian, but Buddhist and Hindu meditation, and even within the Christian tradition, as you know, there are monks, Trappist monks and others who engage in meditation and elevate themselves to a high state of consciousness, and they're actually, as I was legal counsel at the Jesuit National Headquarters, as you might know, for 10 years in their social ministry office. And we were discussing with a lot of the young Jesuits in the seminaries this process of meditation. And there was a lot of, in fact, Pedro Arrupe, who was the superior general of the Jesuits when I was a candidate for the Jesuit priesthood, uh, regularly engaged in 3 long 1 hour meditations, silent meditations, every day. And so that this process is not at all foreign to the Christian tradition. And so the answer is yes, Walt. It is through meditation or something of that nature that can do this. Now, what's happening inside the national security infrastructure is they are attempting to develop technologies that will magnify the brain waves that a person gets into in a state of meditation, so that they're trying to engage in this assisting of the meditative process with technology, because they're deep into technology, because mainly they're linked up with the aerospace corporations that make tons of money developing technology like this. And so even though the knowledge of our human family is ancient in knowing about the meditative practice, you can see you can see paintings and statues of beings sitting in quiet meditation in virtually every culture. Is kind of an open secret about this thing of meditation. And so that is the primary means by which one communicates with extraterrestrial beings, is telepathic and through the act of meditation.
Hey, how about Bethan Rodriguez? Do you want to unmute yourself?
Bethan Rodriguez Guerra.
Aguilera.
Aguilera. Oh, I left out the A. There it is. Aguilera.
Like Christina Aguilera. Right.
Ah, you got it.
Hi. Yeah, well, I don't know how I got here, but I'm glad I'm here.
It was fate.
I don't know how I got into this group, but I'm glad I'm here. I don't know if you heard about me, but I was a person that ran for Congress that said I believed in extraterrestrials.
Oh, far out.
And I used to be the vice mayor of my city here. and I just finished my degree in international politics to have more information on the Outer Space Treaty and everything
Ah,
regarding that.
far out.
I'm
This is
doing my
way cool.
I'm doing my thesis on that. But I would like to definitely be involved in all of this. I have had a lot of contact with extraterrestrials, and also through meditation, like you say, that, we definitely can connect with them. It's a different type of meditation. It's not your regular meditation. It's the meditation that you get into this, um, I call it force. And then you're able to communicate with them. And I've also traveled to many countries to get into this and into this meditation and be able to continue the communication with them. So I definitely do want to, participate in this. I really have been kind of in the background of a lot of things. A lot of people from a lot of countries around the world have tried for me to interview with them. I have been a public figure for most of my life and worked in government. I'm in Miami, Florida, in Doral, Florida. And Luis Elizondo also is from Hialeah. So
Yes,
he's also a Cuban American like I am.
yes.
I have been in this country since I was brought me here when I was 9 months old. So I've been here basically all of my life. So, I definitely just want to reconfirm, everything that you're saying. I really respect everything that you're saying. It's not easy to, go into this world, and it has been extremely difficult for me as a public person to actually say this. And then when the Wall Street Journal asked me if I was dreaming, and I said, no, I wasn't dreaming. I actually did have these experiences. It was very difficult, but I'm glad that I continued with my perception of them, and I stuck to my guns. So, whatever I can do to help in any way, shape, or form, I would be more than happy to do so. I also have met with Stephen Bassett
Ah,
and
TV.
talked to Mellon
Yep.
and et cetera, et cetera. So anything that I can do,
Well,
just count with me 100%.
you should become one of the leaders of the Citizens for Disclosure there in Florida. Each other out
Danny,
of the way.
yeah, I do have a question, Danny.
Sure,
You
go ahead,
know,
Richard.
this Brigadier General Haim Eshed
Oh
from
yes,
Israel,
Israel. Hmm.
he has made some claims, at least what I've read
Yes.
during an interview that was published. I believe it was published in the Jerusalem Post, where he
Hmm.
claimed knowledge that the U.S. national security state has a relationship with a galactic federation that they've been in contact with for quite some time, and that is an elite group from the U.S. military, or I'm not exactly sure how they're connected to the U.S. government, but they have worked side by side with some members of this galactic federation in bases, underground bases on Mars.
Hmm.
And, I mean,
He does
if
say that.
if any of that is true, that's going to be a pretty big pill to swallow for the American public
Hmm. Yeah.
after decades of rockets being sent up into space.
Hmm.
So what
Let
do you
me.
know about that? What do you
Okay.
think about that?
I'll tell you the new our new paradigm institute has not confirmed most of what he is saying there. Uh,
Okay.
but the bottom line is that there are some individuals who assert that, and he has clearly been in some sort of communication with people who are asserting that. And I personally believe that what he has done is he has taken that information, which is basically hearsay information, that because very seldomly are people who are actively engaged in anything similar to that are not talking about it to others. And he has extrapolated from what he's been told others have been told to suggesting that that would be the logical extension of things. That would be a perfectly logical set of assumptions to make. That, assuming that there has been the crash as happened, in fact, in Roswell, 77 years ago now, that you would assume that by that time, by this time, they would have been able to figure out who these people are, who these
Yeah.
beings are, and where they come from. And they would have established contact with them, all behind the screen of lying to the public and denying that there's anything to this at all, and lying to Congress. But that doesn't mean that it's true. Just because something might logically follow doesn't mean that it's true. Okay. And so one of the things, the service that the New Paradigm Institute is providing, is trying to vet this information and determine, using the federal rules of evidence. Rule 11 of the federal rules of evidence is that before any practicing attorney, as we are here at the New Paradigm Institute, that sort of distinguishes us from the other organizations, a lot of them, that we apply the Rule 11 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, that before you make a specific accusation, you need to be in possession of information on the basis of which you can form a good faith conclusion that your statement is true, and that you will be able to prove it if you're given access to the normal rules of civil discovery that are available under the federal rules of civil procedure, and that you will be able to translate your beliefs into court admissible evidence pursuant to the rules of evidence. And that's what we're doing at the New Paradigm Institute. And so it provides an entirely unique standard of information to the whole discussion of this. Now, I know that he, as the defense minister of the state of Israel, the air defense minister, probably came to believe that these things were logical and are true. But I do not believe he has, verifiable evidence to support it, because if he did have it, he would have provided it. But he doesn't. He just said it. And that's clear that that's his conclusion. That's what he believes is true. And he's picked up pieces of information around where people have extrapolated. And this issue of the Galactic Federation is a long time meme, in the science fiction world or the future fiction world, believing that that's sort of inevitable, that will happen. If it hasn't happened already, it is likely to happen. That the inhabited star systems of our galaxy will eventually develop superluminal flight capacities to do space exploration. Will reach out, will encounter each other, and will form some sort of set of protocols pursuant to which they explore space in common. And that's that does appear, something like that appears to be happening, because there are at least 5 different species. Now, I'm saying at least 5 different species that appear to come from at least 5 different star systems here in our Milky Way galaxy, that have achieved superluminal flight capacity and are actually visiting Earth. And they don't seem to be having any wars with each other. They don't. That none of them are having any wars with us, no matter what our people are doing to them, or trying to. And yet, so it appears that they must have developed some sort of set of common protocols for how to address us. One of which, of course, is not to land on the White House yard and announce yourself. So clearly they've got some sort of agreements with each other. But we at the New Paradigm Institute do not believe that there is adequate evidence at the present time to yet be able to go forward and assert that there is an existing galactic federation that forms a juridical entity with which we can negotiate. We don't know that yet. Uh, but we do have a good reason to suspect that our United States military forces and our intelligence communities are aware of uh, the some sort of set of protocols that the extraterrestrial beings have adopted, with which our national security state people comport. Uh, so that's as far as we can go right now on this. And I think what we want to do is we want to move step by step to verify critical pillar pieces of information about the UFO phenomenon and about the extraterrestrial intelligence that is operating these vehicles, and bring this out step by step to the American people and therefore to the people of the world in a completely credible fashion with direct court admissible evidence to support this, because this is going to be traumatic to a lot of people because they have thought for decades that you can trust what the government tells you, you can trust what's on the news. You know, Walter Cronkite, you know, when there was just CBS and NBC and ABC, you know, that they could believe the things that they were being told. They now know better. They
Yeah.
know, but
Hmm.
we can't lose all confidence in there being any credible sources of information upon which we can rely. And that's what the New Paradigm Institute is attempting to do here. You know, I'm taking all the skills that I have hopefully developed, you know, as an honors graduate of Harvard College, studying American foreign policy, you know, under Henry Kissinger, and you know, in studying at Harvard Law School, you know, under Lawrence Tribe and others there, and going to Harvard Divinity School and being trained there, and then going to Jesuit National Headquarters. I've been spending my whole life trying to figure out how to determine facts in a credible and provable way. And, you know, we've been substantially successful in all the different litigations that we've mounted down through the years. You know, I was the co-founder of the Harvard Civil Rights Law Review way back in 1968. You know, I was the one that initiated the case that went all the way to the United States Supreme Court that established the right of journalists to protect their confidential news sources, thereby making a lot of friends in the investigative journalist community.
Yeah.
And then had relations with a major investigative journalists, you know, and have run into a lot of cases and gotten lots of evidence and information through these sources. And so that what we're trying to do is bring this kind of level of confidence in the people, in the information that we're providing, and so that we look at things that have been said by people like the head of the air defenses for the state of Israel, you know, and analyze that, touch base with them to find out what the source is for the information, how we protect those sources, how we might present those to Congress, you know, first in closed door sessions under oath, and have them vet our witnesses. That's what's going on right now. But at the present time, I do not believe that we have the adequate evidence, and frankly, I don't believe that he has the adequate evidence to
Great
support
answer.
a declaration that that is definitely true yet.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I think that that's the way we should all be thinking about and analyzing all of the information that we come across with this, because it is so new and there's so many unknowns that we have to approach it with a very analytical and not so much speculation, you know. So thank
Or
you.
desire. That's the problem. I mean, it's wishful thinking. People wish that were all true, you
Yeah,
know, and they wish that they were all completely benign and they've come here to help us cure cancer. You know, there are all kinds of wishes that we all have, but we can't substitute what our wishes might be and our idealistic dreams and hopes might be for what the evidence is that we have. And
right.
that's what we're doing at the New Paradigm Institute.
Well, you know, I can't think of a person that is better suited as far as their educational background, their career experiences, and their personal integrity than you are to be leading this New Paradigm Institute. And, you know, before we start losing people here, I just want to appeal to everybody. If you can afford $5 a month, $10 a month, to help support New Paradigm Institute, I ask you to please consider doing that. You know, review what you're already subscribed to in your monthly subscriptions and kind of weigh and balance, you know. Maybe you could divert those funds to New Paradigm Institute for a while and help support this group, this effort, because these kind of efforts can die on the vine if people don't get behind them and support them with more than just thoughts and prayers, you know. So I'm asking everybody that here listening to please go to New Paradigm Institute and join for sure, but consider also making a monthly donation to help keep this process going. I was talking with Sarah Nelson, one of the co-founders of New Paradigm Institute, and she was saying that the monthly nut for you guys is like $5,000 a month for your website charges. I don't know if that's
Well,
accurate, but
it's because we have a very sophisticated website that can respond to 435 different congressional districts
right,
in a
right,
different way and get different information out to everybody. And that we have a totally interactive website so that people can come and link in and click the links there to get at all kinds of different recorded interviews and presentations that people have made. So that's a very expensive proposition because we're trying to make this available basically for free to everybody
right.
so that they can have the information and see it for themselves. And it does cost something to do all that. But we try to make it a point. We're not conditioning your access to any of this information or anything that we can give to you based on your only contributing to us because we don't want to come off like crass commercial advertisers here, but
Right.
we want to provide the service to you as a public interest service, and are just grateful for any kind of assistance that you might voluntarily be willing to give us.
Yeah. So Danny, there's a person, Scott, who's on here with us, but apparently he's having trouble with his microphone. Over in the chat, he's asked a question.
Okay.
Do you have time for another
Sure.
question?
No, I do. I'm fine.
Okay, okay. So Scott says the current administration has taken actions recently against whistleblower protections. What do you expect will be the impact of these actions against moving forward with reasonable disclosure? And what level of exposure of truth to the public do you think would constitute full disclosure? I.e., what evidence presented, what level of media exposure, etc.
Well, there's
So,
two different questions there.
two different questions, right?
Okay. Yeah, the first one is that I don't think that the steps that the Trump administration has taken toward people that they have concluded were lying uh, is going to adversely affect the people in the UFO community that are telling the truth to Congress. And that what we're doing is we're specializing in bringing the information forward to Congress, and Congress is vetting these witnesses behind closed doors and doing their own independent checking on the truthfulness of the people's testimony, and then holding public hearings and making them available to the public. So and we have been asked by Congress and by the people that are on this new task force, to draft a new 15-page enhanced UFO whistleblower protection statute, so to provide special protections for the people in this UFO area, because this is one where people have been threatened with being killed for revealing this information. It isn't just like normal whistleblowing. This is very serious. And so that we have demanded enhanced protection for the UFO whistleblowers an entire special category of protections, which I think we're going to get because we've been asked by the people in the Congress to draft this for them. And
Great.
that's one of the services the New Paradigm Institute has provided. Now, with regard to the second question is what would we consider to be full disclosure? What percentage of coverage by the news media? What degree of revelation? I think that the bottom line is that we believe that the president of the United States needs to make some public announcements about this to decide, what things are going to be revealed first, what things are going to be revealed next, etc. Allow the stuff to sink in, the initial information. We know that once the president of the United States starts coming forward, revealing things that the vast majority of people and the vast majority of the news outlets had previously believed was not true, when they come to realize that it is true, that the UFOs are real, that they're occupied by non-human beings that are highly intelligent, highly sophisticated, highly technologically developed, obviously, that each level of this is going to come forward one after another. It's just like baking a cake. You have to put the ingredients in one ingredient at a time. If you throw it all in there at one time and put it in the oven at 600 degrees, that isn't going to work. So
Right.
that is what we mean by controlled disclosure, responsible, a choreographed disclosure to the people. Not that we're going to allow the national security state to use the fact that we're feathering this information out to the people to use that as a mechanism for keeping it concealed over long. We fought that for 80 years, and they know perfectly well that I've done that in case after case after case after case. So we have a certain high level of credibility on this. And we've succeeded in virtually every one of those cases in getting the information out to the people. In all of those cases, except one, which was our Iran-Contra case, we're the ones that brought the Federal Criminal Racketeering Act charges against the off-the-shelf enterprise of Oliver North, showing that they were violating the Boland Amendment, a congressional mandate prohibiting them from providing weapons to the totally discredited fascist government down in Nicaragua, and we proved that beyond any doubt at all. And
Mhm.
it plugging massive amounts of cocaine to secretly finance that. We established that beyond any doubt at all. Even though the judge in that particular case refused to allow the case to go to a jury because he was a trained CIA lawyer that was appointed to be the judge, chief federal judge in Miami. He was a former member of the board of directors of Meyer Lansky's National Bank of Miami, and that appointed at the direct request of B.B. Rebozo, a known, mobster. And so that we weren't able to get through that particular judge. And he jumped up and down and said what we were saying was ridiculous. It was completely untrue. And now everybody knows it was true. So we have that kind of a reputation, no matter what the judge said about us, and so that we want to maintain that level of credibility, and so that we believe in answer to your question, Scott, that we need to get pronouncements made by the president along with the evidence to show that it's true, because this particular president may have some extra challenges with regard to people just believing things he says, and
Yeah.
so that we want to facilitate this process. We want to have everybody on board this, but we don't have to wait for the people that are part of the national security state infrastructure, the deep state, to confirm this for us. That we have to extract that evidence. We have to have subpoena power. We have to be able to take depositions. We have to demand to the subpoena their documents to get them out of the secret caches where they have them hidden, and reveal these things to the American people and to the world step by step by step. And I want that to be as accelerated as it can be absorbed by people and understood by people. And that's what our New Paradigm Institute is devoted to doing. And so we really appreciate your question, Scott.
Thank you, Danny. Does anybody else I don't see any other hands up. Um, I'll ask one more question. There's a group called the Election Truth Alliance working on some statistical analysis of some of the voting data that they're gathering from. They started with Clark County, Nevada, and they started looking at the results of the early voting um, that were provided to this group of, these are like master's level and PhD level statisticians and cybersecurity people. And
Which
they have a
election are we
website,
talking about, Richard? The
the
2020 election, the 2024 election? Which election?
2020, this most recent
Most recent.
2024 election. And what the data on the chart that they posted on their website shows that their analysis after they after about 400 votes, more or less, that they had analyzed, you see it start to skew. And it skews into a very definite 60% red, 40% blue configuration on the chart um, as the number of ballots that they analyzed increased. And they're contending that as statisticians, they're saying that what they're seeing in the way these charts appear does not look like normal human voting results. And so they're going to go through the similar data for all of the swing states, 6 swing states, and 6 other states. Montana is going to be one of those other states.
Mhm.
But let's just, for argument's sake, say that they find that the vote was indeed manipulated as their initial results are suggesting. Would it be possible, or not possible, but if this entity that we keep hearing referred to as the deep state decided that one of two things, maybe catastrophic disclosure was right around the corner, maybe they were going to come land on the White House lawn, or um, or they're going to disclose themselves. Trump's going to get up and make the announcement that you're talking about. Is it possible that they decided that we need to have an authoritarian government in place when this happens? Because, I mean, Anna Paulina Luna's talking about not only UFOs and USOs, she's talking about 9/11. She's talking about JFK. She's talking about, I mean, if if all of the things that they're going to investigate show that the United States, as many of us suspect, our government has been less than truthful and, in fact, very deceptive about all of these things, that's not going to go over well with the American public. And maybe that's going to call for having an authoritarian government in place when all of this starts to hit the fan. And I'm just
Well,
wondering,
okay. Well,
what your thoughts are on that.
let me respond to the 12 questions that are there embedded in your series of observations. Number one, that I don't think it's a good idea to engage in argument just for argument's sake, as you said, just for the sake of arguing.
Right.
We have to try to refrain from doing that, just to come up with any conceivable argument we can just to argue. Number one.
Mhm.
Number two, I don't think that there's any circumstance under which it would be a good idea to have an authoritarian government
Thank
come into
you. I
place.
agree.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the bottom line, I think that the one question that is embedded in there is that if one were to say that one were able to establish that a particular election was unlawful or illegal, what steps would one take to try to undo it? My sense is that that given the practices of our country for all these years, that they would wait until at least the first 2 years of that election as a matter of stability and
Mhm.
being able to trust in the kind of structures of the government to announce that. And that therefore, if in fact that information became provable beyond any kind of reasonable doubt, pursuant to your hypothetical, by the time of the 2026 election, then we would then have to be able to persuade the vast majority of people in the country to replace both the Senate and the House members that were part of this illegal operation, and put new people in who would cleanse the government. There would be a potential impeachment process immediately initiated that would set forth this evidence. If it could be proven that anybody that was involved in the present administration had knowledge about this and participated in that in any way, and there would be a calm, constitutional, collective way of addressing it with an impeachment process. And they would have to replace, there would probably be, in that case, some kind of special election to replace an unjust government that had been proven beyond a doubt to have been brought into place. But as I said, I don't believe that it's helpful for us to engage in speculating like that, because both sides in a dialectical political system where you have only two political parties, where each political party is going to do everything that they can conceivably do to undermine the legitimacy of the election that's won by the other party. We've been through that once already, and we don't want to go through it again. But that any independent, honest group that is going to be analyzing and evaluating the information is perfectly free to present their information. And they should look toward the 2-year election in 2026 and present that evidence and ask the American people to take steps to replace the people who are not legitimately in office. That's what they should do. But I don't think that we should push that very far, Richard. Okay, Chuck, I see your hand up. And I can see you've been sitting there really wanting to ask a question. I could tell you were working on one. Okay. Go ahead, unmute yourself, Chuck. There you go.
Hi, Richard. Daniel, thank you for being on this evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. This is sort of a next step question, and kind of following up with what Richard had just said, that assuming there is full disclosure in the next, I don't know, 5-10 years, let's just
2 years,
let's just
probably, Chuck.
let's just say that there is.
Yeah.
Assuming there's no international chaos from this disclosure, what do you think is the next step for humanity? What do we do as a planet to wrap our heads around this? What kind of organization do we form, or how do we communicate to these people? Is it an international sort of a agglomeration, or does the United States do something separately? Do we have like more of a kind of a galactic United Nations, anything like that? If you could just comment on what you think, or what your organization thinks about that, that would be great. And thank you for taking my question.
Okay. See, they're going to think you were a plant, Chuck, because that's what the New Paradigm Institute is also about. The New Paradigm Institute is not only about securing the disclosure, it's about preparing our planet and our human species for the full implications of what the information is that's going to be coming forward. That's exactly what we have to do. I would recommend that you go to the website, the New Paradigm Institute, just newparadigminstitute.org. And there you will find a thing called courses. And I did the introductory 5 lectures for a course on getting everybody up to date on the basics about the UFO phenomenon. And one of those was what the kind of implications would be, and what are the different kinds of areas: geopolitical areas, economic areas, domestic political areas, religious issues that we had to address. I laid these forth in general so that people would know what the New Paradigm Institute was working on by way of preparing for the information. We have a pretty fair idea at the Institute about what the information is that's going to be coming forward. And so therefore we have a pretty good idea about what the implications are going to be and the impact is going to be. It's very difficult to get institutions such as our Congress or our executive branch to really grapple with an issue until they absolutely have to. uh, and so what we're trying to do is make it necessary that they absolutely have to. That's what the Citizens for Disclosure is all about. That's why the citizen mobilization and the educating of our people on the congressional district level is so important for, is to force them to come forward with the information. And we need to be working together to have collective conversations about what it is that we want to do. We can't allow it to be done from the top down again, because we see how that works. It results in silence and secrecy and intimidation and the attempting to transform that information into private profit for themselves. That's what we're witnessing going on right now. So what we need to do is have a collegial discussion among ourselves. That's what the New Paradigm Institute is for. That's why we have put so much money into the website that we have, so that people can share your ideas about what you think ought to be done about this. What do people think about the United Nations? Do people think that the United Nations is an adequate vehicle to be transformed? What kind of reforms need to be made in the United Nations if we're going to be able to cope with this collectively? What do people think about things like the World Economic Forum? What do people think about things like the World what is it, World Trade Organization? That is basically run by and for major corporations on the planet. Do we believe in a fascist theory of government to put all the instrumentalities of government at the disposal of the interests of the private corporations and assume that what's good for General Motors is good for the country? Or more importantly, what's good for the private aerospace corporations is good for our planet? I mean, and I'm not being facetious by posing those kind of questions. We have to pose the questions so that we can get definitive answers from our people. And that's what the New Paradigm is doing. That's why the New Paradigm is setting up this extremely sophisticated communication system so that we can all participate in this conversation together and process all of the different information. And we are going to be carefully using artificial intelligence, to process all the different responses, to get them into categories of how people break out on this idea, understanding that when confronted by any particular public policy challenge, our human family has demonstrated that we tend to divide ourselves into 7 different worldviews, and they fall along the political spectrum from right to left, of authoritarian to reactionary to conservative to moderate to liberal to progressive to utopian. And what we're hoping is that we're going to be able to complete the octave of worldviews to have an 8th paradigm worldview that takes into account the information that we're going to be getting from the extraterrestrial civilization, so that we can adjust our institutions on our planet to deal with it. Okay. But we want to get past making the mistake of allowing an elite to make these decisions for us, because we've discovered that they almost uniformly always make decisions that just coincidentally happen to privilege them. And so that we're over, that we're tired of. But we have to do our work. We can't just sit back on the couch and, with our clicker going and watch, 100 movies a week, or, 14 football games a week. We've got to come forward and do our job as citizens. And we need to demonstrate to the rest of the people of the world that we here in the United States, that have the strongest and most vibrant democracy, can make it work. That's what we have to do. And we're only 4.5% of all the population of the entire planet, but we have in our hands the unique ability to demonstrate the efficacy of a democratic process. We now have the technology in our hands by means of which we can do this. and we have to come to these decisions ourselves. So that you need to be prepared, Chuck, to
Yeah.
to proffer these ideas into our New Paradigm Institute. Our job is to help process these in an honest and transparent and open way so that we all can see what the thinking is of all of our people, and we can come to some kind of a consensus as to how we're going to respond to this information. And I don't think that we have, 7 or 10 years. I think that we have to get this done in the next 2 year period, you know, because I think our
Okay.
people have been lied to too long. But we have to demonstrate how quickly we're going to be able to come to some of these resolutions ourselves. Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks.
Oh, and thank you very much, son. Chuck, I know they know that you're my older boy, and you've gotten away with we snuck a secret question in here at the very end to help us
Yeah.
all out. Okay, I appreciate that, you guys. Okay, and I'll see you next time. Richard, you can convene this whenever you choose, and we'll start adding to our 25 to 30 people that were here as we
Yeah.
go. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make an appeal also to people that are listening here. I was going to present a PowerPoint presentation because I didn't really know if Danny was going to be able to join us this evening. And I really appreciate your time in being here with us, Danny. And I think your answers to all of these questions have been excellent. But I think I'm going to hold off on showing the PowerPoint presentation, and I will actually I'm willing to send it to anybody that wants it and wants to use it to present to perhaps a school board, a college administration, anybody that you're trying to convince to let you in the door and talk to people about this. And if you know anybody in one of those kinds of positions on a county commission, on a school board anywhere in Montana, I'm willing to travel or Zoom with anybody and present what I think is really a pretty convincing PowerPoint presentation about why people need to take this seriously and why they need to get involved with New Paradigm Institute. And I'm happy to share that with anybody that might want it, to use it to present something yourself somewhere else, or who can hook me up with some group that you think might be important to hear, that needs to hear about this stuff. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Okay. So do that. Yeah, just make it available to everybody that wants it. And get in touch with us. Remember, newparadigminstitute.org, and you can click on courses, materials, linkages. There must be 24 linkages in there to deep dives on this information, and that you can then do some practicing with this, like have a little house party, where you invite your neighbors in, and some of your relatives, invite them in and say, "Hey, look what I discovered. Look,
yeah,
it turns out this stuff is real, and here's some information to show you." And then once you start getting really good at these house parties, you can then go to your school board. You can go to your local community college. You can go to the local newspaper to put a letter to the editor in, and you're going to discover 95% of the people that you talk with, after they get past the kind of saying, "Are you kidding? Is this really true?" Once they get to the stage of understanding that this is apparently true, they're going to come flocking in, and so you want to be able to set up your infrastructure to prepare for that, because you're all going to be, I don't know what states everybody's in, whether everybody's mainly up around the northwest here or where you all are, but think in terms of finding out what the boundaries are of your own congressional district. Most people don't even know that.
right,
Find out what the actual boundaries are of your own congressional district, what cities are in there, how many counties are in that congressional district, and then who are the leaders in that, who are your state assembly people, so you can reach out and start working as citizens to exercise your unique democratic authority to determine what the answers are to these questions that we're asking.
great.
Okay.
Danny, do you or does anybody that's listening here have an objection to my taking the recording of this and putting it out on YouTube or social media. Does anybody object to that? If you do, unmute yourself right now and tell me. I don't see anybody. Okay,
That's a good
great.
sign. That's a good
Yeah.
sign. Okay.
Yeah,
Terrific.
so I will be doing that then. I'll get this recording kind of cleaned up a little bit and then put this out on YouTube and social media.
Terrific. Okay. I
Yeah.
appreciate it, gang. Okay.
Thank you,
Next
Danny.
time, whenever you want, just give me a holler. I'll
Okay,
stay here a little bit later in the office and answer all the questions you've got.
great. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Rich.